Hey guys, welcome to your next project. In this project, we're going to be building a Stickypad to-do list. Okay, so it's going to be pretty simple. We'll just have a bunch of we'll have a form where we can add to-dos, and they'll show up on these sticky notes, which will just be a simple background image. And we're going to be building it with React.js and Flux, and we're also going to be persisting the data to MongoLab. MongoLab is basically just a cloud. It's a MongoDB database in the cloud, all right, that you can push your data to. And it has a really simple API, a JSON API that we can use. And it's free, so you just want to go to mongolab.com, create a free account, and once you sign up and log in, you'll see an interface like this. All right, and what we're going to do here is, before we do anything with the application, we're going to create our database. All right, I already have one here, Stickypad dev, which is just the one that I created to build this application, but I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. All right, so we want to click create new. All right, so now it's going to ask us for our cloud provider, what we want to use. So what we want is, we're going to click on this single node here, and we're going to use the Amazon Web Services, which is selected by default. And then we're going to choose, well, actually, we're going to keep it on this sandbox, okay? So that gives us 0.5 gigs, which obviously isn't really something you'd use in production, but it's definitely fine for development, especially for what we'll be doing. So we're going to keep that. We're going to give it a database name. So I'm going to call this, what is this, Stickypad. All right, and then we're just going to create a new MongoDB deployment. And while that's going on, over here is the documentation for the data API. All right, so this is going to give you all of the endpoints. It's going to show you how to create your API key, which is really easy. You can list your databases, you can list your collections, you can list your documents, and then you can also make post requests, and you can create documents and insert, update, and delete documents. All right, so let's see. Now we have this Stickypad database, so I'll click on that. All right, so what we want to do here, we have no collections yet, obviously. We want to create a user. All right, so if we click on users and then add database user, and I'm just going to call this Brad, same password. Okay, you can make it read only, not for this project, but if you'd like, if you don't want anybody to be able to update it. All right, so now we have a user, and that's all we need to do here for now. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and continue with the application. Now we're going to be using Flux, and this boilerplate that you should have in your program files, this is the same one that we used back in the, I think it was the contact list project. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring this over to our application folder, and I'll go through it as we go along. All right, because it's stuff that's very repetitive, and it's going to take up too much time. All right, so I will go over the code though. All right, so what we'll do is create a new project folder, and I'm going to call this Stickypad. All right, and we'll bring over the Flux boilerplate. All right, and what we want to do, let's take a look at the package.json file. All right, so this is what you should see. We're going to go ahead and change the name to Stickypad, and you can feel free to change the description and the author or whatever. Here we have the dev dependencies, so we're going to be using Browserify. That's what's going to, we're going to have a couple tasks in Gulp. We're going to be using Gulp as our task runner, and we'll have Browserify allow us to use NPM and do things as if we were on a server. And then of course we need Flux. That's going to give us the dispatcher. Gulp, like I said, is the task runner. That's going to bundle all our JavaScript together. and we'll also have it move some files into the dist folder. Reactify is going to convert our JSX to JavaScript, and then we also need these two. I'm not positive on what both of these do exactly. I know vinyl source stream has something to do with turning strings into data streams. Alright, and then down here we have our, of course, React dependencies. Alright, so let's go ahead and save that. And what I'm going to do is open up a command line. Oh, this Windows 8. I can never get, there we go. Alright, so let's open up command line as administrator. And obviously, if you're on Linux or Mac, you want to open up your terminal. Alright, and I'm going to go to my project folder, which is, where is it? Projects. Projects / Stickypad. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and run npm install. And that's going to go ahead and take care of all those dependencies for us. Alright, so now all of our dependencies should be installed, and you should have a node modules folder. I'm just going to refresh this. Okay, so you can see I have the node modules. And what we want to do now is take a look at the gulp file. Alright, so this file here is going to run a couple tasks. Okay, it's going to run browserify, which is going to basically bundle all of our JavaScript up into one file called main.js. Alright, it's also going to use Reactify, which is used to transform the JSX into JavaScript. Alright, and this main.js file is going to go in a folder called dist/js. Dist is going to be created for us, okay, so we don't need to create that ourselves. And then copy is going to bring over the HTML file, the CSS files, and then anything that's in the JavaScript vendors folder, which in this case I believe is just jQuery. Alright, and then we're going to run those down here as default, and we're going to call gulp.watch, which is going to just continuously run the application so that we can go ahead and update it, and it'll update in the browser. Alright, so that's the gulp file. Now what we want to do is take a look at, actually let's go ahead and run gulp. Alright, so you can see that it's running now, and if I refresh my folders, now we have the dist folder. Alright, and that has the index.html, it has the main.js file, which is basically everything compiled together. It also has jQuery because that was in the vendors folder. And then it has foundation.css. Okay, we're going to use the foundation framework instead of Bootstrap this time. And then just a custom style CSS. Alright, so what we want to do is run this index file that's in the dist folder. So let's go to Stickypad, dist, and then we're going to open index.html using Chrome. Alright, so this is what you should see. This here comes from, it's based on one of the boilerplate templates that's available at the Foundation website. So if we want to see this code, if we go to source, JS, components, and then app.js. Alright, and this is much like the boilerplate that we had with the contact list. Alright, and if we go down here, we have a little bit of markup, and this comes from that Foundation template. Let me show you the whole thing in case you're copying it. And basically we have a column on the side. This is where the form's going to go. Okay, just a simple form with one input. And then over here we'll display the different sticky notes. Okay, we'll have a background image of a sticky note, and then it'll have the text on top of it. Alright, and you'll be able to delete them as well. Okay, we're going to add a double click event so that if you double click, it gets rid of the note. Actually, you know what, guys, there is an images folder that I want to have which has the image of the note. I didn't have that in my Flux boiler, but I'm going to put that there now for you guys. Alright, so you should get it. So I'm going to put in, let's see, we're going to create a folder called images. If you already have this, you shouldn't have to do this. And I'm just going to bring that note over. Alright, and then what I'll do is add to the gulp file, in addition to the CSS and all that, we want the images folder. So source images, we'll go to dist images. Alright, and if you're seeing that you have the images folder already in your dist folder, then don't worry about any of this. So what we'll do now is just quickly go over what we have here that we got from the boilerplate. Alright, so in our source.js folder we have actions. Okay, if we click on that, I'm actually going to get rid of that receive. That was just there for an example. Alright, so that's where we'll put our actions. We're including the dispatcher of the constants. Okay, nothing too fancy right now. Alright, in the components we have just our app component. We'll be adding the rest probably in the next video. Constants, which is just an object of constants, and that's just for an example. And then dispatcher, we don't have to touch this at all. It's just going to handle dispatching. It's going to bring in our payload for us and all that. Alright, so we don't have to touch this file at all. Stores, we have our app store, and you can see that I just have a variable of items. We'll change that to probably notes. I'm not going to change anything right this second. And then we have just our change events here, our add change listener, remove change listener. Alright, so this would basically be the same for any Flux app. Alright, and then we just have our actions down here. We're going to run a switch statement on the action type and just do whatever it is that that particular function or action needs to do. Alright, utils holds our API file. This is where we're going to make our request to MongoLab, alright, to the API. And then vendors we don't have to touch. That's just jQuery. And that's pretty much it. And this is the main.js file again, just including what we need, React, including the API, and then rendering everything. Okay, so that's it. In the next video, we'll go ahead and probably start to create our components. We'll do the form so we can go ahead and add notes to the application, and then we'll go from there. Alright, so I will see you in the next video.